If you don't know, then vote no, because we are not being given all the facts. What politicians supporting same-sex marriage have claimed. From the time the legalisation of same-sex marriage was first discussed in Australia, opponents of same-sex marriage have consistently raised concerns about the threats to free speech and religious freedom. These concerns have continued following the announcement of the same-sex marriage postal survey by the government. Despite the fact that these concerns were respectfully raised by intelligent Australians, senior Liberal politicians accused them of scaremongering. Examples include Attorney General George Brandis said, "What I am not going to do is to be tricked by Tony Abbott and others who are trying to turn a debate about one issue, that is about whether same-sex couples should be able to marry, into a broader debate about religious freedom, because that's not what this is about." Then Cabinet Minister Christopher Pyne hit out at no campaigners who were claiming the survey was about freedom of speech and freedom of religion. He said, "It's a complete red herring, so let's keep it simple and try not to muddy the waters, as some people do, which is quite frankly a campaigning tactic." Meanwhile, what were their colleagues saying? Senator Zed Cecilia, Assistant Minister for Social Services and Multicultural Affairs, said, "I respectfully disagree with George Brandis on this issue. If you look around the world, issues of religious freedom has flowed when we've seen a change to the definition of marriage." And Angus Taylor, Assistant Minister for Cities, said, "There is no doubt that religious freedom has been a major issue in jurisdictions where same-sex marriage has been implemented." So who do we believe? And what is the truth about same-sex marriage and freedom of speech? The unusual suspects. While the politicians were saying that same-sex marriage would have no adverse consequences, two men from opposite ends of the political spectrum came out and said much the same thing. John Howard, former Liberal Prime Minister, said that concerns about religious freedom were legitimate concerns, and that it is completely disingenuous to assert that a change of this magnitude to a fundamental social institution does not have consequences. And Mark Latham, former federal leader of the Labor Party, said, "Marriage equality is not just for gay couples. It involves a sweeping redefinition of marriage, extending to the other 247 gender/sexual categories. My advice to people would be, if you don't understand the proposal, don't vote for it. I won't be." How the story has changed. Almost immediately after this, both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition went into damage control mode. The Prime Minister said, "I just want to reassure Australians that as strongly as I believe in the right of same-sex couples to marry, as strongly as I believe in that, even more strongly, if you like, do I believe in religious freedom." Not to be outdone, Opposition Leader Bill Shorten said that he had been raised to be a person of faith. Labor will not support legislation which impinges on religious freedom in this country. So we've gone from religious freedom being a red herring in the same-sex marriage debate to something that the leaders of both government and opposition have pledged to protect. This begs the following questions. Why would they need to say this if there was not a legitimate concern? And what other legitimate concerns aren't they telling us about? Are we being given all the facts? So first, senior politicians told us that same-sex marriage will have no consequences apart from allowing same-sex couples to marry. Then they changed their story and admitted the need to protect religious freedoms. While prominent Australians are admitting that same-sex marriage will have consequences. So how can we be sure that we are being given all the facts? Now, an intelligent person wouldn't make a major purchase without getting all the facts, but Australians are being asked to make a decision about the foundational institution of society, that is marriage, without being given all the facts. So the bottom line is, until all the consequences of same-sex marriage are clearly discussed, we should make no changes to the Marriage Act. If you don't know, then vote no.